Hey, I'm Angel, and today I will be reviewing the 2018 horror movie, Winchester. Apparently, it's a biographical horror movie. It's based on a true story of a true house with true horrors that is truly haunted. Is it true though? So let's review this movie as a horror movie, shall we? Is it good? Overall, it's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. It has a few scenes that are interesting and fun, but I was kind of bored, sadly. I don't want to say it. I was hoping for more. I was rooting for this movie. I wanted it to be more than it was, I think. Maybe that was my problem. Maybe I was going into it thinking we're dealing with like Amityville horror type of situation, or like Sinister and, you know, The Conjuring, since Madam Winchester just looks like the nun in The Conjuring, you know who I'm talking about. I guess I was expecting that kind of mood, that kind of story, that kind of haunting. But no, what we get is a little more cryptic. There are quite a few jump scares, not tons of them, but I feel like the horror did kind of rely on it. It was not unlike Insidious: The Last Key, less ridiculous, a little more grounded, and that's probably because of Grand Dame Helen Mirren's performance. I wanted more of her. She was wonderful, but I wanted more. I loved her outfit. I loved her presence, the way she would walk about, and the way she handled people. She was opposite Jason Clarke during the majority of the movie, and she would just gather him, and it was fun to watch. He was a mess. Not the actor, not the performance, the character. He had issues, so it was fun to see her gather him and be like, I need you to be 100% here because we're dealing with real things, okay? In the beginning, we're introduced to the house, and really quickly we're told what the house is about. Like, this is the first 5 minutes of the movie, maybe. You see already the doctor's a mess. Okay, he's dealing with something. He has this absurd magic trick that he thinks is like really deep and like, ooh, illustrates illusion perfectly. But I was just kind of like, dude, it's kind of sad. And he did it in the first 5 minutes and I thought, okay, we're done with it. But he does his silly little sad magic trick again with the same speech about fear is an illusion. Anticlimactic, lackluster, just made him look like you have no idea what you're doing, do you? This is sad. I don't know, they could have done something a lot cooler to illustrate illusions of fear. Maybe have something to do with a, I don't know, a hologram of a spider. I know it's like what, the 1900s, 1906 maybe? But still, come on. So like I said, in the beginning, we're introduced to the house. Somebody comes, talks about the home, and Madam Winchester, who is in charge of the estate since the passing of her husband, she's doing a lot of things with the money and a lot of things with the house and keeps building it and building it and building it and destroying it and building it. It makes no sense architecturally. It's like a maze. It's a mess. And they even said that it would resemble the mind of Madam Winchester. See, before the movie even started, I was thinking, oh, maybe the home being a mess and compartmentalized is some kind of allegory for this woman and an allegory for grief. However, they kind of just tell you that at the beginning. I guess they don't want to trust the audience to establish that connection or to overanalyze this movie. And in a way, I think that was their way of telling you, don't think too hard on this. This isn't an art piece. This isn't a movie that is trying to be symbolic in any way and deep. We just want you to watch. And in that sense, I do recommend watching this movie with that in mind, with that mindset. As we go through the house, we are introduced to certain aspects of the home, which you would think will come into play in the horror scenes. There's a whole intercom, hole in the wall system, cabinets that are doors, blocked doors, nails in walls, stairs that lead to nowhere, things of this nature. It sets the movie up for you and you think you know where it's going. However, it doesn't really use the home that much. I was hoping for more innovation, I guess, in the horror. But they end up doing things that are pretty basic, expected, and typical of horror movies. For example, I'm just going to say there's a scene with a mirror and it goes exactly the way you would expect it to go. So that would be my main critique, is that they didn't use the house enough in the horror. They could have done so much more with it. Especially considering it looks like a gingerbread house. And why do homes have wings? Like, why do castles and mansions have wings like the East Wing and the West Wing? They had a scene where they told him that he can roam in the East Wing, but the rest of the house is off limits, or this section of the house, and I bet it was like the West Wing because Beauty and the Beast. Sarah Snook plays Madam Winchester's niece, and girlfriend really looks like Kathy Bates. No relation actually, but she should so play her in a movie or something. Or if they do Misery again, they should hire my girl Snook. She was fine as a character. I actually liked her aura. She was serious and it felt like she had a block. You couldn't get past a certain level with her emotionally. In her interactions with the doctor, that coldness that she had felt very layered. Emotional trauma maybe, but she felt like a well-rounded character. However, we don't get to explore that character at all. We don't get to know much about her, who she is, and that was a shame too. Her son Henry, he was fine. Not much to say. Although it was really annoying that he kept like singing and that was supposed to scare us. I know that kids singing in horror movies is supposed to scare the bejesus out of people. It really didn't work for me. I was just like, Ooh, speaking of Insidious The Last Key, we have our friend Angus Sampson from Insidious 4. He makes an appearance here. And this actor, quite frankly, I don't know if he already does, but he should so do voiceover for video games and cartoons because he always gives such a unrealistic performance. I don't know if that's like his real voice, but in both movies, his voice is so weird and his delivery is so cartoonish and so showy. He really belongs in the realm of cartoon, the video games. And I like him. He should do comedies where his voice would actually serve its purpose. Extravagant, unusual, comical, really. It just took me out of the movie every time this character would speak. All right, I'm going to transition into the spoiler segment because it's hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it like most movies. I would just like to say, do I recommend this movie? Not really, but it's a non-scary, scary movie. So if you enjoy horror movies just for the ambiance and the spookiness of it, but you don't like being scared, I would recommend it because at least there's a story. It's not the greatest story, but it's interesting. It could have gone places. It could have been developed into something a little more interesting. Yeah, Helen Mirren, she's everything. I love this woman, and she gave me kind of Kate Blanchett in Thor Ragnarok. And I was just thinking, these two women, have they done a movie together or not? Because if they haven't, they definitely should. And I would sign up for that movie where they can just play these grand dames with all this attitude and luxury, just velour all over. I would die and live for it. Just give me that. If you're gonna go now, I would just ask you to like this video, subscribe to Music Game News, and thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.
The spoils.
All right, let's dive in. So when the doctor gives a speech about fear being an illusion and he asks that hooker, what controls you, your body or your mind? I loved her answer where she was like, your money controls me right now. That was precious. Love it. Yeah, so the house, I was disappointed. I thought we would go more into Amityville horror where there's like a specific type of spirit that is haunting the house or a demon of some sort, or it had to do with the woman herself, Helen Mirren's character. They went into more of a historical tangent with it, I guess maybe because it's based on the true story. When the doctor arrived and his mission was to find out about Madam Winchester's mental state, I really was hoping that he would interview the help or the people who work in construction on the site just to know a little more about this house and if anybody else has seen weird things and has encountered paranormal activity, because that would also help us know if we're dealing with mental illness here or if we're actually dealing with paranormal activity. Oh, this dude is such a fool though. He goes to this house and he knows that he has to evaluate someone and he brings his drugs with him, really? In a creepy old house? Are you insane? I mean, he quickly learned his lesson, but at the same time, Mama Winchester had to gather him and remind him that you need to be off drugs because I need your superpowers to take into effect. And that was the fun part of this movie, is that I was hoping we would get this kind of Ghostbusters meets the Avengers, you know, where she's trying to harness his gift because he went to the other side and he came back, right? So now he sees dead people. Yeah, it would have been fun if she was like Professor X and the leader of this ghost ghost-busting squad in the 1900s. How awesome would that have been? After the kids sleepwalked, I did appreciate them actually addressing that, because so often in horror movies, we have sleepwalking and it is never addressed as sleepwalking. It's treated like possession straight off the bat. I was actually pleased that the doctor asked, how long has he been sleepwalking? But yeah, he was possessed, obviously. So we find out that the house is like a rehabilitation center for disgruntled ghosts who take issue with the weapons manufacturers of the weapon that took their lives. What? I won't lie to you, I kind of love this concept. It sounds ridiculous, it sounds fun, just ghost therapy. You gotta love it. And who better to do that than Helen Mirren? Yes, mama, you should be the ghost whisperer. And it's just kind of stupid, I don't know. I would think disgruntled ghosts would be disgruntled with the people who took their lives. But maybe that's why there aren't like tons and thousands of ghosts in this house, just like 20 or a couple hundred at most in her lifetime, I imagine, because very rarely do people take their anger and frustration out on the person who made the weapon that takes their life. To be fair, there are a lot of people in the US who are very angry with the NRA, but I don't think it's so much because they make weapons. I think it's because they protect weapons over people. When we see the ghosts of Native Americans and slaves, other people of color, I was really excited because I was like, oh my gosh, yes, who died so mercilessly at the hands of these Winchester rifles? This could be another story in itself. A Django sequel, you know what I mean? Maybe if Tarantino and James Wan team up. Oh, and Jordan Peele. So it could be like Get Out meets Django meets Winchester. So then I thought, these ghosts seem to have so much power. First of all, why do they have power? Because mama lets them into our world by actually creating rooms for them so they can just stay, which I got issues with that in so many levels. Like, really? I get it. It's ghosts with unfinished business. So they're partially here, partially dead. They're like not logical at all. They're just angry energy just floating about. But you would think they don't need a room. Whatever. If they have all this power, why can't they stop the crazy brothers who are just wreaking havoc in the house right now? Because it kind of disrupts their therapy sessions too. So if I was one of them ghosts, I would like band together and be like, you know what? We have issues and we're angry, but these dudes are just ruining it for all of us and destroying our rooms. And I sacrificed a lot to be here. So let's deal with these mofos so we can get back to therapy. Oh my gosh, and the scene when Sarah Winchester is upstairs in that rocking chair or just like in the attic, I really thought she'd been dead for 10 years. And I thought, oh no, it's one of those typical horror movie plot twists. But it would have made sense. Technically, they did do that plot twist with that valet who ended up being the bad guy, the bad ghost. The only cool scene I would say in the whole movie was when all of the rifles were lifted and pointed at them. That, with the glass and everything and the sound effects, was really cool. And I had almost wished that it was in another movie where it could have just served its purpose at making it cooler. Oh, in the Avengers or an X-Men movie. Although I think Magneto did something similar, right? With cops and their guns at some point. Okay, the magic bullet. No, not that magic bullet. That was kind of ridiculous. So this ghost can be killed by human things, obviously, but he can be killed by the bullet of somebody who died by a bullet. It just, my brain can't compute. I can't even. It just makes so little sense. So then they kill the master ghost and all of the other ghosts are just fine? What? How does that work? Mama Winchester just gathers them and tells them to go back to their rooms, and everybody, just like children in a boarding school, scurry on back into their rooms, close the doors. Did they seal their rooms up themselves? I don't even remember. I love how the number 13 was supposed to protect her, but it actually failed her a lot. Hey, here's a movie that you can watch on Friday the 13th. Add that to the list of things. I made a movie list. If you're curious to see what to watch on Friday the 13th, check it out. The disgruntled ghosts are dealt with, or are they? Dun dun dun. Sequel? Is that what they're alluding to? I don't know. It was what it was, and it could have been better, and it could have been more interesting, and it could have been an X-Men movie, but it wasn't. Also random, but I had this idea for a horror movie. Now I know there are like millions of horror movies out there, so it's probably already been done, but what would you think of a horror movie about the gingerbread man? I was thinking about it when that kid was humming his little song, because the song is so scary if you think about it. Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me.
I'm the gingerbread man.
That could be funny and scary. And I want James Wan to direct it. All right, that's enough silliness. I just want to spend so much time with you. I'm having such a great time, clearly. Before you go, click on the like button, subscribe to Music Game News, and turn on that notification bell if you did subscribe. Have a great day. Don't piss off any ghosts. That's it. Make sure to bless your home before you go to sleep. I'm M Angel signing off. Take care. Bye.